Good morning. It's the last day of 2022, and I'm in Florida. I have a Procreate demonstration, or just a Procreate picture I want to share with you. Let's start it now. So this is the app I'm using on my iPad, and so I'm going to my gallery. I already have a blank canvas. It's a 20 by 16, and I already have a reference photo. It's this picture right here, and I chose this picture for a couple of reasons. I like the dappled light in the foreground. I like the turquoise blue water right there. I like the girl in the picture. I like seeing the light on her partially, so the sun is coming from this way, and you can see the light on her legs and on her hat. I think she's got a hat. Let's see. Yeah, she's wearing a hat, and she's wearing some kind of a very billowy kind of a top, which I like that too. I also chose this picture because I like the clouds, and I like this tree, which is kind of a almost a cliche to put a tree, like a palm tree, in a tropical piece of artwork, but I like it. So, and I like the blue sky, and I like the very, very, very billowy clouds that seem to go from nice day to almost stormy day on the bottom. And of course, I like the boats that are in the water. Looks like a pretty large one over there. Medium-sized one right there, a little tiny one behind that one, and there's one over there. What I'm not going to worry about is reproducing this as a photo. What I want to do is make this a painting, a painterly painting. It's the same process I would use if I were using traditional paint. I know that a lot of you like to see the demonstrations on the digital platform, the iPad, and using Procreate. So what I want to do first is I'm going to open up the colors, and instead of using this classic, I guess you would say, palette, I'm going to go to the circular one, the color wheel. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to first sample. Here we go. Yeah, I just took a sample of the blue sky. Now you see it showed up over here, right there. Directly opposite of that is what I want. That right there. So that it's sort of this orange, like a light orange kind of a color. Okay, what I want to do with that, I would just want to bring it in. Make the whole page that same color. So when you look at my layers now, you see that's the color. Now I could have made the background layer that color. I can give it a shot. Let's see if I can try to replicate it. Let's see if I got it. Whoops. No, I made it a little darker. See, there's the color I chose, and there's the background color. I really don't want that dark one. I want this light one. So that's what I'm going to use as the background color. I might change some of this later on, but I want to make another layer here, and so that's going to be a layer above this layer. And now what I want to do is I'm going to use the dry brush in this case. So here's the brush choices, and I'm going to go to the one that's called painting. Okay, so here's the brushes that are in the painting category. There's a lot of them. This is the turpentine. It's highlighted because that's the last one I used. But for this painting, I want to use the dry brush. There's the dry brush. Okay, now what the dry brush will do, let me get a blue, because we're going to start with blue. Now I'm going to go back to the classic, because I don't need the circle anymore. I'm going to try to get that color right there. And I'm going to show you this way to do it. And make the brush really big so you can see it. Can you see that? See how brushy it looks, how painterly it looks? That's what I like. 2 fingers, if you don't know this trick, 2 fingers will delete what I did, undo. And the other way to get the color is to just simply grab it from the reference photo itself, and then you can put it in there. So those are the 2 ways to get the colors. You can either eyeball it and get it, or you can grab it from the painting. From the reference photo. Okay. One of the things I think I want to do also is I want to take this color. So let me sample that color right there. And I'm going to turn off that layer. Now I have that darker layer underneath. So on this blank layer, what I want to do is use the dry brush with that color, that orange color from the layer underneath it. And basically I want to fill in this whole thing. So let me turn off the reference photo just for a moment. And I'm just going to push this in here. Now there's a reason I'm doing this. The reason is because the background color is a very, very flat. It just was dropped in. It's a very digital look, which is great if you're doing like a children's book, if you're illustrating a book, or maybe an editorial illustration. But if your goal is to make a painterly digital painting so that it looks like it was painted, then you're going to have the brush strokes. Again, just to repeat, I don't want to make this painting look like a photograph. I want it to be painterly. 16 by 20 is the size of the canvas, and it's, by the way, 300 DPI, just to make it. I'll show you that, by the way. Let me show you. So here's the canvas. Here's the canvas information, and the dimensions right there to show you. It's 20 by 16, 300 DPI. That makes it very nice to print. Okay. So now what I did there was I took that color from this layer and I put that color on top of a different color, which is the background color. And now I have to decide, do I want to keep that color or do I want the flat one? I think I want to keep that one. So that means I'm going to get rid of this one. So now that background color is coming through, that little bit darker color. But for the most part, we have covered the canvas, so to speak. If this was a traditional painting, I would do this with like a house painting brush. I wouldn't even worry about anything other than just that one color. Let's go back to the reference photo. Turn it back on. Now, you might argue, well, that's the opposite or the complementary color of the sky. But it's not the complementary color of the foreground. It's not the complementary color of the ocean or the clouds or the dark part or the light part of the clouds or the girl. True. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to let this peek through whenever it wants to. Okay? So now let's begin with the sky. So let's go to another layer so that I don't mess that one up. Now I have a blank layer right there. And I'm going to paint on that layer. I'm going to grab the blue sky from the reference photo. And I'm just going to paint in that blue sky. I'm going to make the brush a little smaller. And I'm just going to paint in. And I'm doing it in strokes. If you know how the Procreate app works, it records a video for you. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so I can see everything. It records a video for you of your work. It's kind of a cool feature. I'll tell you this, though. It does use a lot of storage on your device. So you just got to be careful of that. I just got this new device. Look at this. I just got this. It's got 2 terabytes on it. So that's a big help. But, you can delete stuff too. And you can turn it off. You can turn off the function of recording. It's not a bad idea, actually. Let me turn that light. That light's not necessary. It's reflecting. There you go. I don't think it was bothering you, but it was bothering me. I was at that angle. All right, so what I want to do is, you see how the sky has got a little bit up there and deeper down here? So I'm just trying to replicate that. Again, I am not trying to reproduce this photo. It's a reference photo. I want the feeling that I'm getting from this reference photo, but I'm hoping that the painterly approach gives it a special feeling. It's just a feeling of a painting, you know. I've always done art, and I've always wondered about if anybody really likes the art that I do, or if anybody likes art at all. I don't understand really some of the high dollar amounts that art sometimes commands. But I want to tell you a story. I was visiting somebody in a hospital a long time ago, and I left the room that person was in, I think because the doctor or the nurse had to do something, and you know how you have to leave a room when they do things. So I was just basically standing in the hallway, just kind of waiting. And in the hallway at the hospital, they had large pieces of art hanging on the wall. I'm sure they were prints. I think they were pastels in the case I'm referring to. Okay, let me stop that story and just tell you what I'm doing now. So I grabbed this color here. Okay, now I want to grab it closer to the cloud. Not the cloud itself, but just the color just above the cloud. See how it's a little bit lighter blue? And I want to put that down closer to the cloud. So just a little bit lighter. Now it's hard to tell, but that's what I wanted to do. Actually, what I want to do is I'm going to make it a little bit lighter than it actually is in the photograph. So what I did is I opened up the palette and just made it a little bit slightly lighter there. Okay, so back to my story from the hospital hallway. There was a bunch of paintings in that hospital, and I think they were all prints of pastels. So when you're standing and you're looking at these beautiful works of art that somebody had done, they were like landscapes, and they were just so nice to look at, so pleasant. And it occurred to me that's what I like. That's what I like in art, you know. I mean, I've done my share of portraits, and I've done my share of, you know, especially when I was younger, trying to make a statement with art, you know, one form or another, you know. Even to the point where nobody's going to get this, so I'm just going to put a big word in the middle of it for whatever I'm trying to say. But I'm older now, and I kind of just like art, almost like a beautiful instrumental piece of music. It's just something comforting about it. All right, now you see how that's a little bit lighter? That's nice, right? But I'm now going to make it a little bit darker for the top. Just a few places, doesn't have to be everywhere. And this is what you would do with traditional paint also. You would make decisions based on what you like. So going back to my story, when I was looking at that art in the hospital hallway, it occurred to me that that's the real function of beautiful landscapes. It might not be the function of all art, and certainly not all illustrations. I mean, illustrations for children's books are something I have done a lot. Portraits is something I've done a lot. People love portraits because the people in the portrait are people they love. But landscapes can take you away. You know, it's the last day of 2022 today, and whatever it is you're looking forward to, you know, just remember that all days aren't perfect, but they all come to an end. They all, you know, in this lifetime, there's only one day we don't get through completely. Think about that. There's only one day we don't get through completely. So unless that's your day, you're going to get through it. You know, you're going to get through it somehow. And if you need something that's a little bit comforting and a piece of art helps you do that, whether it's looking at that piece of art or creating that piece of art, it's kind of a relaxing thing. As I said, like I'll make it a little bit lighter just for a few strokes here. Just like a beautiful instrumental. And it doesn't have to be an orchestra. It can be one guy on a guitar, one girl on a piano. Okay, a ukulele, flute. All right, so now we have this. Let's make it a little bit darker and put a few things up here just to get those little edges there. Okay, so you see I'm doing it almost like a pointillism thing, where I'm putting lots of dots actually. Okay, so there we have that, a little bit lighter down here, I think. There. Now that represents this. And you see it doesn't look exactly like that. Now what I want to do is another layer. The reason I want to do another layer is just in case I mess up. It doesn't have to be another layer, but since I have the opportunity, I'm going to use another layer. Now that layer is going to be for the upper part of the clouds, the white part. Okay, let's see if it's truly white. Let's put our finger on it and sample it. And now let's go over here and see where it fits. It's not quite in the corner. You see? It could be moved over a little bit. The farther you go to the left, watch, the more white it becomes. The farther you go to the right, and you see that line down there? That control? See how it moves that thing? And over here, to make it the brightest or the darkest. So, whoops. So that's the saturation. So what we want is this part of the cloud, which, well, that part is really white. Let's not go for the completely white. Let's go for the slightly less than white. In fact, let's make it a little bit less slightly, okay? All right, now we got that second layer here, or third layer actually. Let's move this out of the way. And let's start popping in the clouds here. I think I'll make the brush a little bit bigger. Okay. Oh, and what I meant to tell you before I started to tell you, when you use Procreate, it records a video of what you're doing, and it does it by strokes. So every time I do that, there's another frame, so to speak, in the video. If I were to do hold it down and do this, like scrub it in, which I like to do that too, but now I lift it up, that whole thing is one stroke. I'm sorry, it is one stroke, but it's also one frame in the video. Now, to think about what's being recorded as a video is to distract you, and that's not a good thing. So if you want to scrub because it'll make the picture look better, then you scrub. If you want to do the tapping or the pointillism idea, then that's what you should do. I wouldn't make a video, a painting. I wouldn't make a painting just because that's what the video is going to be. Although I have done that for tutorial purposes. But most of the time, if the end result is a painting, now see how this goes. I like how this goes up and down and up and down, and almost like a mountain range. So we want to do that over here too. So again, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to replicate the photo, the reference photo completely, but we'll give it a little bit of a curve there. Okay, and then that goes up and down, make it a little bit rounded, up and down. There we go. There's the tops of our clouds. And they're not as white as I'm going to make them eventually. That's why I didn't make them white, so that I could add the white later on. Okay. I will scrub a little bit just to kind of get that cloudy look right there. So I'm going to scrub a little bit. There we go. So that's the top of the cloud line. Okay. Now let's go down a little bit deeper into the clouds. We'll get the gray area. Let's see what that looks like over here. It's right there. See, right there. We'll make it a little bit darker than it actually is. All right, let me just memorize where the cloud is, where the cloud line is. I'm going to memorize it because I have to move this in order to do this painting. So it looks like it's like 1/3 is the foreground and 1/3 is the sea. So it's the top, a little bit more than a third is going to be the sea line, the line of the sea, which is also the bottom of the clouds. So let me remove this for a moment. Now I left my line right there, kind of so I know. Now here's a digital trick you can do. You can have what this is called as a drawing guide. You see those lines? Can you see them? Well, those lines will help me create a straight edge. I'm not going to use a ruler, but I am going to use that line right there. If I can stick to it. Let me see. Oh, I'll show you how to do a straight line too. You want me to show you how to do a straight line? All right, let me show you how to do a straight line. Just for a second, let me go to a second layer just so I can do this. Let me take the brush and make it an ink. I'll just do a piece of ink and I'll make it black just so you can see. So watch this. So let's say I want that to be my line right there. See how I'm not perfectly straight? See how it's going crazy, crazy, crazy? But watch when I hold it. Boom. It becomes straight. And then you can edit the line and you can take the edge and move it any way you want. So you want to follow that line there. And there you go. Now I'm not going to keep that there. That looks horrible. But that's how you do a straight line. There's another way, as long as we're teaching here. You can do the page assist. I think. Oh, that's for animation. Oh, this is what I want. This one here. Assisted drawing. Okay, so that's what you want. That button right there. Now with that button, watch this. You can't even go up and down. See how it goes straight no matter what you do? No matter what I do, it was a straight line, right? So, again, I don't want that either. So let me get rid of those lines. Get rid of that line. There it is. And in fact, let me get rid of that whole layer. Just get rid of that layer. I want to continue working on this layer. So, where was I? Oh, let me get rid of that grid too. I don't really want that grid there. So there we go. Now we're back. Okay. So I was going to make the bottom of the clouds, the dark part. So a little bit less blue, I think. Oh, I still have it on pen. I got to make it back to brush. There's the dry brush. Okay, that's what I want. Okay. So let's just tap this in here now. And I'm not completely worried about that straight line, but I'll show you a little trick too that I do to make a straight line. A third way to make a straight line. Let me get that reference photo back in there because I kind of forgot how it looked. Okay, let me make that reference photo a little smaller. Whoops. Yeah, I don't really need to see it too clearly. Now, when I do the girl, I'm going to make sure it's real clear. Okay, so yeah, it's real dark at the bottom. You can see real dark at the bottom. In fact, it stays dark all the way across on the horizon. Stays dark. There it goes. And let's make it a little bit lighter as we go up into the upper part of the cloud. Just tap it in there. Yeah, I'll show you the video at the end too. I'll show you the time lapse. Sometimes that's all I post is the time lapse. I don't do the full length. But I've had messages from you guys asking me to do full length, and I've had messages from you guys telling me that you like the time lapse. Some of them I don't even talk, I just put music underneath it. Sometimes that music is a problem because I get a copyright message from YouTube. So I'm still not that good with all of this. But anyway, so can you see now how it's a little bit lighter up there? But it's not bright, and it needs to be bright. So let's just make this a little bit lighter and get some of these areas down here, because the cloud it's an amazing thing. You realize how much water is in a cloud? Oh my gosh, it's like a whole lake. There's like a whole lake in the sky right there. Isn't that incredible? Think about how it works. There's gigantic bodies of water on the planet called oceans. And those oceans evaporate. And then these big, gigantic bodies of water called clouds move across the planet. And then they drop water onto the earth. And if it didn't do that, we wouldn't be alive. Okay, so now you see how that looks? It almost looks like that. But I would like it to be more dramatic. So what I want to do, well, it's easy to see what I want to do. I want to put white on the edge, but let me do this. Let me first, let's see, if I take that away and put that there, I'm going to connect these two. I'm going to merge the two. So now the sky and the cloud are one layer. Now I'm going to make another layer. Make it very light, almost completely white. And let's put some of those edges on there. It's not completely the edge. Remember, this is a contoured structure, the cloud is. And the light is coming this way, and you know that from the girl's legs. You can see it's coming this way. So that same direction is affecting the clouds. So there are some contours, three-dimensional contours that are coming out toward you. And I want to make sure I put the light onto those contours. And if they didn't exist, I am making them exist. But some of the accidental, what did Bob Ross call them? Happy accidents. Some of those happy accidents lend themselves to making the imagination see bulges that are coming this way, like toward the eye. Okay. Yeah, now that's almost a little too perfect, so I want to make it a little bit less, a little bit lumpier. Okay. How's that? Okay. That looks pretty good, I guess. It's just a little bit more pure white. Just a little bit of pure white. Here and there. Not everywhere. There's a few places where it'll be pure white, almost like a snow-capped mountain. There we go. That looks good. Now let me show you what it looks like when you take that away. See? Let me put it back on there. I like that. Okay, so now I'm going to merge those two. So now my sky and my clouds are one layer. All right, let's do another layer. This one's going to be in front of that. And this is where I show you my little trick to make a line. We want to do the water. So let's take a look at the reference photo. Whoops, where is it? I can't move it. Come on. How come it's not moving up? It's not moving up. Let me turn it off and back on. Let's see what happens. Turn it off. Turn it back on. Well, it still won't go up. Why is it staying down on the bottom? Ooh. Oh, there it goes. Okay, I don't know what the heck I was doing. All right, and what I want to do is look very closely at this. You see how similar in color the sea is to the clouds? In fact, there's almost like a double line there. So it looks like what we want to do, let's just take this color here, that color right there, and let's make that the sea, and then we can always change it. All right, now I'm going to put you back at the bottom, baby. All right, here we go. Just put it down here. So what, in fact, let me make it really small. I don't need it that big for now. I just want to get it out of the way. Actually, what I'll do is I'll move this over. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to take that color and I'll make a separate layer. And I'm going to paint just a big bunch of color. Just kind of sort of do it without worrying too much about it. And that's all I want to do. Now what I want to do is I want to grab that layer. I'm going to push the whole layer toward the top, because I'm going to use the top of the canvas as a straight edge. You see how it's not straight? I don't know if you can tell, but if I put it up there, it's completely straight. And then what you do is you turn it off, like you're placing it there, turn it back on, and now you bring it down and you see it's a completely straight line. So that's going to be my horizon. And I'm going to just stretch it. I can distort it with that. Just pull it a little bit out. And set it. There it is. So now we have that horizon there. And it is a separate layer. So that's good, because we can do stuff with that. What I want to do is add another layer on top of that. And now I'm going to use something called the clipping mask. Okay? That clipping mask is going to allow me to alter the shading on the edge of that. Okay? And if you look at the reference photo, let me make it bigger again. Boy, I'm having a hard time with this. Okay, make it bigger. You can see the background is kind of it's a mixture. It's lighter, it's darker over here, lighter over here. So let's do that by using that clipping mask technique. And, oops, boy, I'm having a hard time with this thing. There it goes, okay. So now the clipping mask, I'm using that layer, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker over here. Now the clipping mask makes it possible to paint only on the layer and not on the other layer. See? So it's a little bit darker right there. And then I'm going to make it a little bit lighter right there. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the way it looks. Okay, now I'm going to merge the clipping mask with that. And now you see it's not a completely uniform color. It is as it is in real life, where things don't stay one color from left to right, unless it's a house. Even then you have shadows. Okay, so let's look at this again. And now what we want to do, I'm going to shrink this so I can see both of these things. And I'm going to basically sketch in what I think is the best look for that water. And, oops, hey, maybe that's how I'm supposed to move those things. Maybe I'm not supposed to use my finger. This is an Apple Pencil, by the way. I think they call it second generation, but okay, just so you know. All right, so now let's look at this water. It's got several different shades. Let's use some of them. Let's use that one. That color right there by that boat. And we're using the same layer. So let's go, like if it goes down to about here. Also, I think what I want to do, I'm going to scrub it a little bit. There's no real need to tap that one. What I want to do is I want to make this line not so horizontal. I think I'm going to make it more like a diagonal. I think it'll be a better composition if I do that. Okay, so let's get this piece of the water, kind of scrub it in there. This piece of the water, Scrub it in there. See how it's a lot lighter. This piece of the water again. Whoops. Just scrub it in there. This piece over here. We'll just kind of keep scrubbing it in. And as you get closer to the shoreline, you see how it gets that turquoise color? That's one of the things that attracted me to this picture. So I want to put that in there. And we're going to worry about waves and reflections later. But right now I'm just scrubbing in this color, these colored areas, okay? I think you're going to find it interesting how I paint the image of the girl too, because I'm going to use a digital trick, so to speak, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I'm actually painting it. Okay. So you see how we have different like it goes dark and light, and even on here you can see like the reflection of the clouds in the water. So try to keep that in mind too. So grab a piece of the color from the cloud and just put it in there a little bit, smudge it around. You know, if it doesn't look right, then fix it. You know. So there we go. Make it a little bit darker right there, I think. Yeah, that looks good. And now let's take that very, very, very light water. And what I want to do is I want to adjust it over here. Oh, it looks red. Isn't that funny? All right, but that's not what I want. I want this blue-green look. This turquoise. This look, if you ever been in Fort Lauderdale, you know that look of the water, or the Keys, Florida Keys. I don't want to put too much. I don't want to exaggerate it too much, but just a hint of it. You see? Can you tell on the video? It's coming out looking really nice. Here we go. And I think I'll put a little bit lighter, because as the water gets more shallow, it becomes lighter. Here we go. Now the background color almost looks like sand, doesn't it? What I want to do now is I'm going to merge the sky and the water together so that it's all one layer. So now I have the sky, the water, the clouds, all one layer, and we're still going to come back to do details, so to speak. But now let's take this foreground. And what I want to do with the foreground, make a separate layer. And let's just take the darkest area right there. Let's see what that looks like. Ooh, it's almost perfectly, purely black. I think I'm going to make it a little bit less. Pull it up. All right, now let's just put this in here. What we want to do is get this really dark. You don't think of the sand as being dark like this, but see that dappled light? That's the trick right there. Just those little areas of sunlight coming through. But for now, let's just scrub it in and make it quicker. But for now, we're just going to get it dark. We don't have to completely cover it because it's not going to be completely covered anyway. If this was traditional paint, you wouldn't completely cover it either. So, okay, there we go. Okay, I think maybe a little bit darker is a good idea. Maybe the original darkness is probably. It's a really good shadow. All right, now let's take that light color right there. See it? How I turned it right there. And let's find some places for it. Let's make the brush smaller. And let's go ahead and scrub in. Just scrub it in. The edge right there by the water. That's where the sand, there's no shadows at all. Seems to be. Seems to be the edge has perfect sunlight hitting it, pure sunlight. All right, now let's add some dappled look. Just add some splotches of light. Yeah, now we have a little bit of a dappled look. It's a little bit maybe more dappled than in the reference photo, but that's the light that's being cast through the tree. Speaking of which, let's do the tree. We'll do the boat and the girl last. So the tree is going to be a separate layer. I'm going to merge these two together now, so that now everything I've done is one layer, with the exception of the underpainting, which is this one. So now you see what we have. We have the clouds and the sea, and it's not done. It's not finished. I'm a little bit unhappy with the color of the sky, by the way, which I can fix. But let's do that later. Right now, let's put this tree in there. So let's do a separate layer for that. And turn off that thing, and let's get the darkest color of this tree right there. And I'm going to put it right where it is in the reference photo, same place. I'm going to scrub it in. And we're going to bring it all the way down to the bottom here. There we go. Bring it all the way down. Make it a little bit fatter. Actually, make it a little bit closer to the edge, to the bottom edge. Okay. I think that's good. That's good for the trunk. It's a little imperfect. Let's get some of these branches in here. Got that one. Let's come like that. You got some of these on the side here. It's one of the telltale signs that you're in the South, right? There's these palm trees. We got that big one that's coming down over here. I kind of like that look. So just scrub it in. There we go. We got a couple more over here, just poking in. I'm not going to worry about that one over there. I think I just want to keep this one here. Okay. Now what I want to make sure to do, because don't forget the sun is coming down this way. You see right here on this light part of the tree, it's very light gray. So that's the edge of the tree. Let's put some of that sunlight on there. It's coming through, it's hitting the tree. Got a little bit, just a little bit showing there. Very subtle. And also these dark green areas here. Looks purple up there, doesn't it? So let's take a light green, almost like a yellowish green right there. Very unsaturated. And let's add this to here. So we have some sunlight coming through there. Make it a little bit more yellow, I think, for over here. Maybe add a little bit of yellow to that one too. Let's put a little bit of yellow on the tree itself, just little highlights of the sun glancing across the surface of that tree, of the trunk of that tree. There we go, there's our tree. What I want to do, so I want to make sure I get some of this dark area here and use it again for the dark side of the tree. Make sure it does not look even, because this is not an even surface, if you know how trees look. Make that a little bit fatter. And put a little bit of a shadow there. That's almost cliche-ish, isn't it? But that looks good. Let's put a little bit more darkness right there, just to give contrast so you can see the light hitting that tree better. It's obviously something creating a shadow outside of the picture that we don't see. Probably another tree or another clump of trees. And we can always fix things that we don't like later, but right now, well, the only thing I want to do is make this very light area, make a very small piece of the brush. And just do that, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that looks good. Little tiny pieces of light hitting the tree. That looks good, right? Okay, now we have the tree, the sky. I'm going to keep the tree a separate layer. And now let's do the girl. So let's make the separate layer for the girl. There it is. Now here's the trick with the girl. You have to make her that size. So let's keep the canvas about the same size as the reference photo, just so we see it. And what we're going to do, we can sample the girl. Just do the darkest part of the girl. Just what color is that? It's very super dark purple, almost black. In traditional paint, by the way, that's probably what you would do. Now, do I want to make this larger so I can see her better? Yes, but not yet. What I want to do first, and I think because the dry brush has a tendency to need to be scrubbed a lot, I'm going to change my brush now to a turpentine brush because it's a much finer brush. Okay, I'm going to make it completely opaque, make it kind of small, and I'm going to go down here. It looks like the girl in the reference photo, her head reaches the horizon. However, you see how we did it here. We gave more sea, more ocean than the reference photo. So I just want this girl to be about from here. See, just a tiny little thing for her head. And then her shoulders, her arms. Just a very, very, very super sketchy thing. And I'm going to explain why, because I want this to look like it's all painted on the same surface. I don't want it to look like I superimposed something. Okay. Just get a little shape going here. Her legs coming down. Somebody once told me, make it look like a carrot. So, okay, so now I have, not completely happy with that, but that's pretty much, and all I really did there, I didn't draw the girl. What I did was, I showed myself, I showed how large the girl is going to need to be. Okay, now I want to bring it up in size. There. That's how crappy it looks. So let's take the reference photo now and make the girl the same size, if I can, as the painting. So now I can work with this, because keep in mind, this is a 16 by 20 inch canvas. So when it's printed, you want it to look like it was actually painted on it. If you're intending to something to be painterly, okay. So now we can see about the same size the girl, and we're going to paint her. Now keep in mind, remember, she's a separate layer, so we can fix anything with her. Okay, she's not interfering with the rest of it. Now first, let's look really close at this girl. Her hat. It looks like it's a dark blue. You want to examine it? Yes, it is a dark blue. All right, so let's bring that big, about the same size, and let's make the brush smaller. Let's scrub it in. We don't have to do pointillism here. So I'm just going to scrub it in. Now, keep in mind, I am aware that I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm not worried about it. Now this looks like her hair coming out the side of the hat there. I think. I don't know. Okay. And then there's her shoulder right there. So let me put that in there. A little bit of brush strokey thing, I think. It looks a little bit wrong already. So her shoulder's more like here. Okay, and then the hair over here. The shoulder over here. The hat's there. Okay, so we're going to correct everything right now. I just wanted to brush in those dark colors. Okay, so let's go back to that color. Here we got the blue. And let's get these lights, the light that's shining on her hat. And again, we don't want it to be perfect. We're not trying to make a photograph here. We're just bringing in the light. Not completely happy with that. And there's some lighter blues on the side of her hat also. It's not all like pure white. So now you got her hat, and you could there's enough light there that you can tell she's wearing a cap with a brim on it. Just enough to tell that. And so that's what we want to do here too. So now we want to get that dark, and let's make that brim look more like a brim. And let's erase. I'm going to use the eraser. I haven't used the eraser yet. Let me use the eraser set to the same brush, the turpentine brush. So the brush now, the eraser now is going to, oops, I have it too big. Okay, the eraser is going to be needs to be small also. And it's going to leave remnants, just as real paint would leave remnants. Okay. There we go. And then, again, I think I made a mistake here already. Get her hat. Okay. Now let's go back to her. Get the regular brush, not the eraser. And we go from there to there. That's about where her shoulder is. Again, just refining what I'm doing. And there to there. And that's where her shoulder is. About there. So what I need to do is get that eraser again. And go back over here and get rid of some of those things I don't need. Okay. Now let's go down a little bit. Let's try to get the torso. So here we go. So we're going to use the paint, and you can see her body there, her arm. This arm, now it does have a lot of translucent light happening through the clothing. So we're going to make sure we do that. And I can see right here where I need to erase some stuff. So I'm going to erase that. It looks like her arm goes from there to there. It looks like I made her arms way too long. Let me taper her arm so that we have a hand. And we'll fix that in a little bit. Okay, so there's that. Come down. Come back around. Her hand is about equal to the other hand, so let's just get some of this erased. If you were using traditional paint, you would be painting over, not erasing, obviously. Okay. Okay, let's get back to the painting now. So we get back to the dark shadows that are being cast by her body, her own body. Okay. Okay, let's get her hand now. Her hand's got that very light right there, some light hitting her hand. And there's some very light where the sun is shining through the fabric. So we're going to work with that. It's kind of a delicate thing. You have to be easily just grabbing things. All right, let's try this right here. Now we're going down to the leg. So there's her hand. Let's see, go from there, there, there's her hand. We're going to fix that in a little bit. Right now we have this little wispy thing coming off of there. And then it looks like her leg starts right there. And their other leg with the light on it, the leg that's catching the light, let's make it much lighter. There we go. All right, we catch that right there. So that's happening, right? So her arm goes there. And there's where it tapers, there's her hand. So it's maybe more up here. And she's got her knee going that way. And then the dark shaded area of her leg over there. Okay. Let's see if let me reassess her. There's her head, her shoulder, her arm, the next part of her arm, and her hand. Okay, so I made her hands way too long. Her arms way too long. So let me erase that again. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay, and then that hand is about equal to this hand. So let's get some of those dark areas of that hand. Again, I'm using the turpentine brush here because the dry brush in this case would have been, this is too detailed of an area, and the dry brush sometimes doesn't work in the detailed areas, so you have to use the turpentine brush. Okay. Well, let's look at her. Now, obviously, my original sketch is wrong because I made her that tall. However, I would argue that I didn't do it wrong. I'm going to explain that in a second. So what I want to do is, let me just finish sketching her. Let me get the lower part of her leg here. Her leg right there. Her hip is more defined than what I have. And I believe her leg is coming out there. There we go. I like this look, this very cool look. Right, now let's erase some of these things here. Get her leg coming down from there. This leg on here, let's see. I think her hip needs to be more like that. And then this piece right here is coming down. And there's her foot. Let's get this leg here. This leg comes down here, and the foot reaches a little bit lower than that other foot. We have a lot of erasing to do here. So let me erase all these little remnants here. These artifacts, as they say. Okay. Looks like we've got some fixing to do. That's okay. That's what we do. We fix stuff. But you can already see it looks like the girl, right? You can see it. You can see that whole look. I think that the hand is too small. Let's use a digital trick. Let's take that. Let's grab it just by that. Let me show you what I'm doing here. And now I'm going to take that hand and make it a little bit larger. I don't have to do it that way. I could use, just simply paint it over, but I wanted to show you that trick. Okay, now I don't like that completely, but I'm going to erase the parts I don't like, and hopefully we'll get it right. Okay, we're 1 hour into this video so far. Hopefully you're not too bored. And the whole idea here is to create a painterly painting based on a photograph. Okay, let's make that hand a little bit bigger too. Actually, I'm just going to paint it bigger rather than doing a trick. Whoops, I accidentally used the eraser. See, that happens too. Okay, so now I have this hand going here, and her hand goes there. And it looks like, let's look at it closely. So she's kind of got her fingers pinched with her thumb, and it goes up here. A little bit too big, I think. Okay, now over here I noticed that there's some light hitting her from the other side, like backlight. So let's just get a little bit lighter right there. It looks like it's a violet color, and just kind of sketch some of that in there. Some of the sides, the light on her side is coming through, and this is the opacity. So I'm going to reduce the opacity so it's not so strong. And just kind of, oops, gotta make it much smaller than that. There we go. And you know what? I'm going to hint at her face too with that, I think, yeah. Yeah, that kind of looks nice, huh? Okay. Okay, now let's the feet. Let's work on the feet a little bit, and that leg right there. Yeah, let's make that leg a little bit better. Take the paint, and give a little bit of shape to that leg. And we'll take that foot and define it better. Maybe make the opacity a little bit darker or more opaque. A little bit of that light color hitting her. A little bit of that light that's coming across the edge of her leg right here, which you can see. Okay. And there's a little bit of cloth coming out here, which is probably not necessary. If I don't need to put that in there, but I think I will. And a little bit of light on the other fabric that she's wearing. I like that way. I like the way that looks. Let me grab some of this and some of this color, and just kind of sketch it in there. A few lines that indicate the wind. Okay, let's work on this other leg now. This other leg has more definition than what we gave it, so let's give it more definition. It's got light on the side. Okay, and then let's make the foot. That particular foot is completely on the ground. There's going to be a shadow from it. I didn't quite do it right. Let me make it a little bit better. Let me get rid of some of these artifacts here from the previous sketch. All right, now let's bring her down to the size that we need her to be. Let's bring the reference photo down to the same size. Now, do you see? There's no question that that's a young lady walking on the beach. What we didn't do was give her a shadow, so let's give her a shadow. So there's her shadow right there. We just grab the way it looks. The shadow obviously comes from her foot. This particular foot is not touching the ground, so we won't put a shadow right there. We just grab it, make it a little bit fatter. Make sure we go behind the tree. And voila, there we have it. Let's give it a little bit more dark areas in the sand itself, just to match the shadow now of the young lady. Okay, now what I'd like to do is, before I do anything else, I think I want to, whoops, see that dot right there? That's a mistake. I touched it accidentally. So just double finger it and it goes away. Isn't that a beautiful thing? All right, so now I have to decide on the boats. I kind of don't want that boat right there. It takes away from her, and I want to experiment with her a little bit. So let's get rid of this. Let's make this full size. I think I want to experiment with her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate her. Okay, so there's two of her now. I'm going to turn one of them off. I just want to see what it would look like if she was bigger, if she took up more room on the picture. Everything else gets bigger too, all those shadows I did, but that's okay. We can fix that. Yeah, as I make her bigger and she looks closer to the camera, I kind of like that. I kind of like the way that looks. Compare that. Compare that to this. I think I like her closer. That's cool. That's very cool. All right, we're going to keep that. So let's get rid of the other one. And I'll have to adjust the shadows later, but right now, let's go back to the reference photo. Here it is. I had to think for a second. All right, so I don't like that boat right there. Not that I don't like the boat. The boat's awesome. But it takes away from the composition. I do like this boat, though. I do like that boat. So let's put that boat in there. Again, let's go small. Make it a separate layer. What is this layer here? Oh, that's the tree. Well, let's keep the tree a separate layer. Let's make a separate layer now for the boat. And the boat is very small. It's just a line. So let's just do that a little bit right over here. And we'll fix everything we need to fix. So there's the boat right there. That's the whole boat. See? I mean, just as far as the rough sketch. So let's make it bigger and let's make it look more like a boat. So now we can see the boat better, and let's just make it into a boat. So I'm going to scrub it in just to save time. It's a very small part of the painting anyway, so obviously that piece right there needs to be erased. I did it wrong. We can make it more, make the lines more defined, I guess, with this eraser. Let me make the eraser bigger. There we go. Let's get rid of it. There we go. There we go. All right, now back to the painting. Let's make it darker. There we go. That looks more like that boat, right? Yeah, and it's got a little bit of a lighter color happening over here. Probably the sun hitting it. And go back to the dark and give it more of a point to the front of it. I know there's other nautical terms, but I'm not good with that stuff. So rather than saying the wrong thing, I'll just say the front. Okay. And let's just take some of that water and sample it and just see what it looks like if I put it around it. There we go. All right, that's pretty good. Now the white, the top part of the boat right there, it's just a hint of it. So we're going to put that in there. Whoops, I didn't get the white. That looks like a mistake right there. I'll fix that in a second. Okay, there's that part of the boat. That part. Looks like it's got some grayish or brownish colors going on up there. It's probably wooden things on there. All right, now let's get these masts. I guess that's what they're called, right? All right, let's make them. What the heck is that? That must be an artifact. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, let's see. So about there. It looks like it goes from here. Let's use that straight line technique. Just hold it. There's a straight line. And now let's do the same thing here. There's a straight line. Do it again, make it a little bit darker. One more time. Here we go. Okay. Okay, let's got this here. It's got some stuff happening over here. It's got a few lines and things. Looks like it needs more white over here. Looks like it's got a little bit of a white reflective surface there on that line. So I'll do that. Make it a little bit darker here. Other things happening on that boat. Okay, I think we got the boat. Let's see what it looks like when it's brought down to size. Yeah, baby. There it is. Now watch this. Watch what I'm going to do. I may not keep what I'm going to do, but I'm going to show you something. I'm going to duplicate that boat. Duplicate. Now I have two of them. You can't tell I have two because one's on top of the other one. But I'm going to flip it upside down. There it is. And you know why I did that, right? So that I can make a reflection. So let me just, whoops, stretch this up like that. That down like that. Like I say, I may not keep this. This may be overkill. But it's a cool way to do a reflection. Now, that's horrible, right? So what you do is you take that bottom one. Or the top one, I guess. That's the top one, isn't it? Well, and then you make it less opaque. Make it faded. Almost completely gone. There, now you see? It's still there a little bit. See how it's a little bit of a reflection there? But what I want to do is I got another digital trick to show you. And it's this one called liquefy. You take the liquefy. Now watch what happens with liquefy. You can push it See how you do that? Now I don't like it that big, but I'm just going to push it so it looks like the waves are distorting the reflection. You see how that looks? That's kind of cool, isn't it? I may not keep that, but I just wanted to show you that trick. I may not keep that at all, but maybe I will. Now, you know what I'll do? I'm going to erase most of it. Just keep just a hint of it, I think. I think that's a better way to do that. Yeah, that looks good. All right, now let's get rid of the reference photo and just use our judgment about this picture and decide a few things. Well, the first thing I'm going to decide is the sky. I think the sky needs to be bluer. So what I'm going to do is, see, I have the boat. I'm going to make the boat and the reflection of the boat into one layer. The reason I merged the layers is because there's only a certain number of layers that I can have with this size of a painting. Let me show you what I mean. Right here it says layers. See, I've used 6 and I can only have 8. So I have to be careful not to use them, otherwise I won't have another layer. So what I do is I merge them together. So I can merge the reflection and the boat together. I think it would be safe to merge the girl and the tree together. So let's just do that, because I don't think I'll be changing that. And then the rest of the painting is there. Some of the shadows are on the same layer as the girl. That's probably a mistake, but that's okay. That's working. So the only thing I'm not completely happy with is that sky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get one more layer, and I'm just going to use a critical eye and just get some blue here, maybe a little bit unsaturated. Just kind of poke it around. A little bit more blue than that. Yeah, just poke it around a little bit. Just give a little bit more blue to that sky. Now I want it to be behind the girl in the tree, so that way I don't have to worry about it getting on top of the tree. In traditional paint, you'd have to worry about that, obviously. That's a little too blue, I think. Okay, that's not exactly what I wanted. Let me go back to it. Let me scrub it in, make it a little bit quicker. I don't want this video to be too long. Let's see if I can compare it now. Maybe make the water a little bit more blue too. Also, what I want to do with the water is I want to add some white caps a little bit. It's a little bit overkill right there, but just a few little kind of ripples in the water where the sun might be reflecting off of the water. A little bigger. And as you notice, I'm still using the turpentine brush and not the dry brush anymore. I use the dry brush for most of the painting. Just a few little, tiny little ripples where the water is rushing in. I think I'm not too happy with that little area right there, so I'm just going to erase that. Erase some of this. And tap in the eraser in different places. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go back with the dry brush because I like the way the dry brush looks. And use the dry brush as a smudge. I haven't used the smudge tool yet, so let me do that. So now the smudge brush, also you can pick what brush you want. And I'm going to use the dry brush for the smudge. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to kind of use the dry brush on the sky just to kind of give it wispy. And I'm going to use it on those white caps I did, because I wasn't happy with the way they looked. And let's see, I also need to fix the girl's shadow right there. The tree, her shadow wouldn't be on the tree. So I'm going to fix that. Oops, I got to get above that. There we go. All right, so let me just extend the shadow a little bit beyond that tree. I think it would be safe to say that her shadow would go beyond that tree. And I think we have our picture done. There we go. There you go. Hopefully you enjoyed the demonstration here. Hopefully you are enjoying your own world of art. Thank you for looking at what I do and for spending an hour with me just now. Okay. Yeah, hour and 20 minutes. All right. That's it. Take care. Be good. Don't forget to subscribe if you can, if you want to. And what else you have to do? Like. All those things make the channel a little bit more seen by other people who might enjoy it. That's the way the logarithm works. Still a word I have a hard time with, logarithm. Okay. Bye.